Hello once again, I'm chaotic Shmoo, and I have another Roll20.net tutorial showing you how to use the Journal tab. This section will let you set up character journals for your players. Having your players have these journals will allow you to set up macros for their roles, along with a few other features connected in their players' tokens to their journals, but I'll explain that shortly. So in order to make a journal, we have to move over to the Journal tab, which is right over here, the one that looks like a newspaper or some documents. If we click that, come over here, we got the search bar, so if you ever put any tags on your journals, explain more about that once we open the journal. Now you see I already have a journal here. This is what it looks like when you have journals placed. You have the name, next to it you'll have an image if you assign an image to it. But if you don't have this here, if you're following along, and obviously you're not going to have a journal here, you're just going to want to simply click the Add button here. You click that Add button, it opens it up and shows us the journal. Now, this is in the editing screen here, so we have a bunch of different sections here. We have your avatar section, to where you're going to want to add a player's image for their character. So if you don't know, ask your players. You're going to need their character sheets ahead of time to verify that the character sheets are complete and accurate. It's just a good thing to do for a game, running a game. But also, you're going to want to make sure they have an image that you can associate it to. I mean, you don't have to, but it makes it look nicer. Now, you can either click the Choose a File, which, again, I don't know why Roll20 doesn't have, and my OBS doesn't pop up external windows and drop down menus, but you click that, it opens up a section and you can browse through your computer files and pick your image. Or you can drag and drop just like you did in the art library, which I showed you in the previous tutorial. So I'm going to just select a random image here. It really doesn't matter, and it uploads it. So we have it uploaded. Now we can change the name. We're going to go with Logan Gyre from the previous tutorials of my Dungeons and Dragons series of tutorials. And then we have, I'm jumping ahead of myself, a nice, oh, you can actually see this drop down this time. We have whose journal is it? What player journal is it? Now, because it's only me in this game and nobody else is in here, you only have either everybody can control his journal or just me. If I had other players in here, this list would be a lot longer and I could pick any one of them. So I'm just going to select myself. And then you have who can edit and control the journal. And again, same situation. We'll just select myself. And then lastly, you can add a tag if you want. I've never added tags before, but I guess if you have a big enough game and enough characters and you have NPCs and monsters and whatever you want in here, because you can make a journal for whatever kind of character, monster, or creature you want, you could add tags. Like you could add the tag of monster to it, and now whenever you type in here monster, well, I have to save changes first, but monster pop, you know, Logan pops up. Delete it, comes back, there it is. We'll go back to edit here. Delete that because Logan's not a monster. But then the other thing we want to do here is, if you notice, I didn't change anything from the previous tutorial on the desktop, or I'm sorry, tabletop. We still have the house and the road and the grass and the tokens here. Well, we're going to select one of these tokens and we're going to assign it to this journal. So you have a default token. And this is completely optional, but you have a default token. And, you know, select a token on the tabletop to use your default token. So we're going to select it. Now this token will always be the default for this character sheet. Nice to match them up, to sync them together. Otherwise, we'll get more into what you can do with the tokens and the journals and how they are connected. But otherwise, you have your duplicating a journal. So if you have stuff pre-set up in journals, such as attributes and abilities, which I'll get into in a little bit here, that's the main part of a journal. You can duplicate it. So you have a bunch of attributes and abilities already set up. You can duplicate it and not have to retype everything in. Really nice. Then you have the archive, just like the page toolbars, being able to archive pages that I explained again in a previous tutorial. And then you simply can delete the journal if you don't want to use it anymore. Scrolling down, we have the bio and information, which is really just for the players. I mean, you can add something if you want, but players can edit this part right here. They can edit their name, and they can edit their bio here. So don't even bother filling this in if you don't want to. Let the players fill in the background if they want to, and their bio information, whatever they want here. Down here in the bottom, however, you have the GM notes, which is only visible to the GM, which means you can put whatever you want in here. You can be like, this player is, ooh, I can't type. Player is being a monkey head, whatever monkey head is. And now you know to watch out because this guy might be cheating or something. You never know. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But then you have, that's the default of setting up your character journal per character. So you want to make sure you click the Save Changes button. If you hit the X, it will not save it. If you hit Cancel, obviously it cancels it. Click the Save button, it's now saved. And then that's the basic setup. So then next we're going to want to jump on over to the other tab of the abilities or attributes and abilities. Now, notice here it's completely blank. You can add, just like the respected, like you do with the journals. And you can add extra tabs. You can add an attribute line, and you can add an ability line. Now, notice they're all blank, untitled, new ability 0. There's nothing in it. But I'm going to go over here and open up the one I've already had made. Now you see I have initiative +3, and then initiative abilities. Now these abilities can be turned into macros. To be able to just click it and it rolls it for you, and it makes the game run a lot smoother instead of having to look up what your initiative is on your character sheet, going over to the dice roller, you know, going, okay, it's D20 +3, and then clicking the roll button, and then, you know, watching it roll and seeing it go. That can get a bit tedious, and it can slow the game down when other players might have stuff already set up. Or if you don't want to do that, you can always just type, you know, R1D20 +3. Okay, I found it was 3. You know, it rolls the die for me. Instead of doing all of that work, Roll20 makes it really easy for you. You can set up these attributes and abilities as macros. Now, before we do anything, we're going to want to go over here to My Settings tab. And we're going to want to scroll down here. I'm sorry, we don't want to scroll down. We want to go right here. I'm thinking it's down below. We're going to go right here to the Show Macro Quick Bar. Now, if you notice, down at the bottom left part of my screen here, my name popped up. It moved up because it made a bar that goes along the bottom for macros. Now, if I go Show and Macro Bar, you see how it popped up down there. Nice, easy access to quickly accessing buttons. So if I go here and I click this, I just rolled. There's my die up there, the red die right there. You know, it comes up with a little error, but it still gives me the number, but that error is because of how this ability is set up. So I'm going to close this Logan Gyre one. We're going to use this one for right now, just to show you how this works. So we're going to mouse over this ability right here, and you notice how these 3 commands here, you can delete it, you can move it if there was more on here, like if I add another one here, I can move it down and move it up. You know, you can arrange them how you want. And then you can edit them with that little pencil. You can change the name, and then you add your command here, just like you would type it in the chat. The same thing. Like if I copy this into here, it'll do the same thing. Except it's still going to give me that error again because I don't have my token selected. So what this is doing is it's doing the standard, you know, roll me a d20, but then the @ in the squiggly brackets initiative, it's calling the attribute. And that will not select. It's calling the attribute here of initiative, the +3. So it's d20 +3. Now this at tracker feature here is a really cool feature. So if the DM opens up the turn order, right? Look, I've already got one in there. We're going to clear that off. And you got the turn order open to be able to start your initiative. You can select your token. Make sure your token is selected. Now granted, I don't have this token assigned to this journal yet, but we'll get to that. And then you would click and roll. There's a little dice roll there that replaces the moving around. No error, it pops up with a 6. It automatically puts my character in the turn order as a 6. Now the reason why this is really nice is because instead of going in here, adding the player 1 or collier 1, you know, dog, cat, and then each individual person rolls, and then I gotta go in here and enter 50. That's a really high initiative, but and then 3, and then that number. It can get tedious, and it can take up a lot of time. Instead, you set up all the character sheets to where you select your character, and you roll it, and then it appears. A lot simpler, a lot smoother, gets you right into combat. Don't have to sit there waiting for everybody to roll and whatnot and figure out their initiative and stuff. It's already set up. So I'm going to save this one. Just click the check mark button here. And I'm going to uncheck it from the macro bar. What I want it is I want it on the show as a token action. Now the reason I want it as a show as token action is because the only time I'm ever going to use this is if I have my token out and I have it selected. Because if you don't have it selected, it's not going to work right. So in order to make it so that I can only use it when my token is selected, to remember to select my token, is by assigning the token action. Now we're going to close out the journal here. Close that out too. We're going to head on over here to the token. We'll double click it to open it up, or you can hit the gear. And now you see I got a bunch of options here. I know I went over this a little bit in the previous tutorials, last week's tutorial actually, about you got the 3 bars represent each circle. Different colors represent different colors. Okay, but what we're looking for is the represented characters. Now we're going to want to scroll down to the Yusham Uji, which is just a generic name it came up with when I created the character. And now it's associated with it. See how the name automatically changes to it. You can do show template or show nameplate, and it will pop up for DMs once I save it. Will not pop up for characters with this enabled. In order to make it so the characters see it, you enable this right here. Players permissions. They see the name, they can see what bars, they can see different auras, they can see the different options you have here in the basics. So we're going to save it, and now make sure your token is unselected. You select it again. If you notice in the top left corner here by the toolbar, you got another button here. Unselected, the button goes away. I select my token, is there. I select this other token, there's nothing there. So I select this token, and there's initiative. I click it, it rolls, the fancy 3D dice feature, puts 22 in my turn order, bam, set. Now there's one other thing we need to do with the journal. You don't have to do it, but it's a nice feature. So we're going to open that one back up. I'm going to add another attribute. And I'm going to call this health, if I could type. And normally you would go off the character sheet, find their health, put their health in here. I don't have an actual character sheet here for this example, so I'm just going to use a random number. We're going to say he's 15 health. He's a first, second level character of Dungeons & Dragons at least. And so we have the health attribute here. Now it's saved. As soon as you add one, it saves it. Unlike where over here in the abilities, you got to click it, you can edit it, and then you click the OK button, it saves it. If you do have this open and you close it, it stays open. So don't worry if you accidentally close it and you're like, oh, I didn't, click the check mark and save it. It saves it. It just keeps it open for you. So we have that set up. So I'm going to come back over here, close that, and come back over here to the token editing. Now, one thing you noticed, I saved the changes of this, and I went back over here, and then I edited the health attribute. You can add this health attribute before you go and link up the token and everything. but I'm just showing you that if you have this open, the token edit, and then you have the journal open and you add the attribute for health, it will not appear in these drop-down menus of the bars. It would have been just initiative. If you can see the, yeah, trust me, there are bars here, drop-downs on the bars. It says none, health, and initiative for my options on these drop-downs. The initiative, health, you notice the numbers change on the bars. Now I tend to put it on number 3 because the red one, but you can change these numbers in the, or colors, I'm sorry, in the my settings section. So I'm coming over to the token now that we have the attribute health set up, and I'm adding health to it. So now the health will automatically pop in my red circle there, as you can see. The reason why I'm doing this is because if I ever want to make a more advanced macro and ability, I can include my health thing, my health attribute here, to subtract the health automatically on attack rolls or stuff like that, should it hit. You know, one macro for, do I hit? Okay, I hit. Now I want to roll the damage with this token selected and automatically take whatever that roll is of damage from my health attribute of that character. So it'll automatically take this and then automatically subtract it. It's a way more advanced feature, but it's still available and it's still awesome. You want to make sure when you do go in here and you subtract a number, you don't have the editing token open. Whenever you're editing stuff that's related to the token but is not in the token editing screen, close the token editing screen. Stuff will not be affected while that's open. So we'll give them max health. That is your character journals and associating them with your token. Nice handy feature for your characters and being able to have the game run a lot smoother. One last thing I'm going to show with the character journal tab, or the journals tab, is the handouts. Handouts here, you can click the add handout just like you do with journals, and you got a new journal or a new note. You can rename the note to whatever you want. You can see who's in control, whose note it is, who can edit the note, any tags for if you have multiple tags. You can add a photo just like you do with the avatar in the journal, whether or not it's like an item of a image of an item that you want one certain character to say, here, this is your item now, kind of fancy way to do it. Otherwise, you can have little notes in here. I know one game we have a war plot note in here where the players can go and add notes for a war they're trying to start and how much gold they have put towards it and different kind of, you know, notes to remember stuff about the war. And then of course obviously your GM notes. You can also archive it just like the other pages and the journals, and then you can also delete it. Very straightforward. You can save it and then you have it there. You can show to players and then go back into the edit. That wraps up another Roll20 tutorial about the character journals and handouts and associating your character journals with your tokens. I went over how to make new ones, how to edit them, how to add attributes and abilities, and assigning them to a token or in the macro bar at the bottom. One last fun thing I'm going to tell you about is a command line that is a lot of fun to use. You can do /me, M-E, space a message, and it will pop it up as if you're saying it, or as if your character's saying it, or describing what your character's doing. Really cool feature to do when you're rolling, when you're playing through here and you want to type something out to them or whatever. Different features of, you know, Shmoo slices his blade through the enemy, dealing, and then here's the number of damage. I'll show in future tutorials how to do even more advanced macros. But for now, that's just a fun little feature I'm going to leave with you. So please remember to like this video, click that thumbs up button for me, and subscribe to my channel for a lot more tutorials and awesomeness. I do want to say thank you everyone for following along. I know I recently just hit the first milestone of 100 subscribers, and I thank you so much for all your support and help. I can't do this without you, and I can't grow without you, and I greatly appreciate it, and I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I love you all, and thank you all for watching this tutorial itself and all my past ones. Yeah, I would say thank you so much. As always though, I'm cubicApocalypse. You have a great day. I will see you next time.
Bye.